truth. I call it my prayer, it is simple and clear. It wants me to give and receive love. I call in the light to make everything right and show me the way to just be love. And show me the way to just be love.
Hello and welcome to Rewire Your Attachment Style. This is Maya Diamond, and I'm so excited to be here today with a friend and colleague, Montino Bourbon. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to you too. I feel very welcome.
Yay.
Tell me everything.
Wonderful. So I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about one of the 5 love languages today. So I'm going to share with the audience, with the listeners, the 5 love languages in case you're unfamiliar. So the first love language is words of affirmation. Then there's acts of service, receiving or giving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And the love language that we're going to focus on today is words of affirmation, or verbal affection is another. Verbal affirmation or verbal affection is another way of naming it. And what I've noticed, both in my personal and professional life, is that sometimes it can be challenging for someone to, this can be a love, just like any of the other love languages, this can be a love language that can be challenging for certain people. And it can be something that maybe your partner really wants or a date really wants, but if it's challenging for you, then it might be really hard to give. And it could be challenging for a number of reasons. Maybe you didn't grow up with it in your family. Maybe you just feel more blocked around it. And so I know for a fact, because I've known you for a very long time, that this is a love language that you're very fluent in. So I'd love to ask you, first of all, what do you notice when you give women verbal affirmation? How do they respond to it?
Well, they always respond well because I like that particular love language. I like to tell people how wonderful they are.
Yeah.
Often. So it's something that I do very, very easily, shall we say.
Right. And do you know how that came about inside of you? Did you see that mirrored, or do you feel like it's just something innate? Did either of your parents give it to you?
Well, I think that my parents were fairly good at it. But, because I've had so much experience, I think that I've just gotten really, really good at it.
Yeah, so the more that you do it, the more it grows. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I'm curious, how do you come up with what you're going to say? Like, does it naturally come? What is the process? If you could articulate, what is the process inside of you that happens when you give someone verbal affection or verbal affirmation?
The process inside me. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I have a desire to be nice to that person. To do something positive for them. And secondly, when there's something about them that I very much like, especially something that they do, I really like to thank them for that. I mean, if a person is really righteous in their actions, I really like to, how can I say, reward them for that if I can. And to really let them know that I appreciate it, because it's something that I find that when somebody is very kind and loving towards me, I really like to recognize it. I feel that recognition and, as it were, blessing of things makes them increase.
Yep.
So I very much like to, tell people how wonderful they are.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, which is one thing that's so beautiful about the verbal affirmation is it's a giving and receiving, because exactly you're positively reinforcing them in that way, which probably brings more of it. And they're receiving this appreciation that just feels really good inside. And, you know, who doesn't love appreciation? Most people really, really blossom from it.
Absolutely. And the fact is, when you appreciate something, it increases.
Yep, 100%.
So if I see something wonderful happening, I definitely want to stroke that person.
Yeah, appreciate it and give that affirmation.
Yeah.
And I think I want to highlight, because which is, I think for women especially, I think there's something that happens when women are appreciated that I think is very distinct. And so I'm curious if you could speak to, because you're so fluent in this, what do you notice when a woman is appreciated for maybe something she did, or maybe even her beauty, or something she's wearing, or some energy she's radiating? Like, what do you notice happens?
Well, it makes people happy in a certain way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a joy, there's a smile on her face, there's a recognition, right? She feels seen. She feels seen and loved.
Seen is an excellent word for that, because to recognize people and to recognize their good qualities is a way to make those good qualities, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. And who doesn't love to be seen? And so what advice would you give to a guy who maybe a guy who struggles with this a little bit? What advice would you give him around how to give more verbal affirmation on a date or in a relationship? What would you tell him? Say he was here right now. What would you say to him?
Appreciate everything that's good. I mean, basically, well, I'm going to put in a shameless plug for something that I like. It's called The Little Pink Booklet of Aloha. Have you ever read that?
No, never.
Okay, you want to get that immediately. It's online, and it's like, one big page. It's really short. And one of the things it says is that which you focus on and appreciate grows.
Yeah.
So you want to look at something that is very real about your partner, that they know it's not just bullshit. It's got to be, something that is really good about them, and compliment that, and especially if it's something that makes you feel good. Like, for instance, if they are supportive in a moment of stress, right? Mm-hmm. After the moment of stress is over, it's nice to say, I really feel appreciated, and I feel appreciative of your recognizing that I was in a moment of stress and supported me, because that kind of behavior makes it grow, as far as I can see.
Exactly. I love that. And I love that you're saying that also as a man, because I've noticed sometimes it's hard for men to really receive that emotional support when they're undergoing something challenging emotionally, because, there's been so much conditioning around having to be strong and do it all on your own, et cetera, et cetera. And so to allow your partner to really support you is fantastic. And then also to really recognize their support is also just gonna bring even more love and intimacy into that bond.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gorgeous. And see, I'm curious. I love the way first of all, I just want to say how simple you first said it, which is just notice what you appreciate and speak it out loud, right? It's so simple.
Yeah.
And so for the people out there who, I think there's something also that you said that points to something the first thing that you said in terms of your process is points to there's a vulnerability in this, right? So when you share what you are appreciating, your part, this is like a vulnerable thing. You're sharing your heart with this person, right? Because it's like, how did this person touch you? How did this person move you? Wow, I feel moved by your presence. I feel moved by your beauty. I feel moved by the cooking, inspired, but so nourished by your cooking, right? And so there's also, I think, for the people who have a harder time with verbal affirmation, just to kind of unpack it a little bit, there may be a little bit of vulnerability in this. And so just knowing that and allowing yourself to open your heart to this, even though it's, the other thing I've noticed is sometimes people don't do this as much when they maybe don't thrive on it. So that's another thing I've noticed with my clients is maybe if you don't get a lot of value from it, then you don't give it out as much, which makes sense because you just don't value it as much. And so one thing that I would say to the people who are listening where, you know, maybe someone says something to you with a verbal affirmation, it just doesn't really, you know, it doesn't feel that big for you. It doesn't really juice you up like other people. I would say, let yourself give this, even though it might not be your strongest love language, and watch, because I have a feeling that this is something that maybe you could even grow into, right? Maybe this could expand inside of you and it could start feeling good the more you do it, because sometimes that happens too. What we practice grows stronger.
Oh yeah, of course. You practice makes you stronger at that particular thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And then one thing that I want to, you know, touch on is, Montino, is that you're from Italy, right? So your roots are Italian, and this is something that in Italy, I think is even more part of the culture. Would you say that that's true?
Well, certainly Italians aren't a very taciturn people. You know, they like to talk, they like to express themselves. And I think that feelings are shared pretty freely there.
Yeah. So, the expression plus the feelings is kind of, goes along with verbal affirmation. So it makes sense that there's a free feeling around that. And that this partly, you know, I think, relates to this, you know, our culture, right? Where did you come from? Where did you grow up? The culture of your family. If someone grows up in a culture of a family where there's not a lot of verbal expression, there's not a lot of verbal affirmation, this might all seem really foreign, right? And so, so it's something that, and I just want to say for everyone listening, it's something that everyone can learn. This is a learnable skill, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I mentioned, it ties together with the concept of that which you focus on increases, and especially that which you focus on positively.
Yes, exactly. And so, and just for the women listening who are with men, when someone gives you verbal affirmation, what do you notice happens inside of you? How do you feel? Or when your partner, specifically, when your partner gives you verbal affirmation, what happens inside of you? How does it affect you?
Well, it of course makes me feel good, but it makes me feel recognized. As you said, the word seen, to be actually seen for who you are, is a very, very powerful thing, because I think that the ultimate currency nowadays is our attention.
Yes.
You know, that which we put attention on is how we pay, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody's clamoring for our attention. All of the, you know, all the screens, all of the people, everybody's kind of clamoring for our attention. And what we choose to put our attention on is the ultimate currency, is the ultimate gift in a way. So when we put our attention on something like another person, and we really see what they're doing that is very personal, that is good, and we praise it, of course, it's good for everybody. I think it circulates the energy.
Yes, I love that. Beautiful. And so, because you've had a lot of experience in your life and you've lived already a long life and lots of experience with that long life, I'm curious, because, a lot of my listeners are single and looking for their partners, I'm curious if you were going to give advice. I like to ask a lot of the couples that I interview this question, which is, what would be the number one quality that you would recommend looking for in a partner?
Oh, if they're loving.
Yes.
If they're a loving person, that's the number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely number one is, are they a loving person?
Yeah.
And do they really love you for who you are?
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. And then, and I love the question, are they a loving person? And what does loving look like for you? Again, some people feel really loved when they're really deeply listened to. Some people feel really loved when, there's, they're cooked for. Some, like what is really getting into. Yeah. I would share to the listeners to get deeply connected with what feels loving to you. And also, I love what you just said around the second piece, which is, does this person really love me for who I am? Right?
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
We want to be seen in our authentic self and loved in our authentic self. And this is, for all the parents out there, this is exactly what children want as well, right? They want to be seen, heard, loved for who they are.
Yeah, exactly who they are. Yes, there's no question.
Yeah.
And a person who really appreciates, first of all, who is, how can I say, who's smart enough to understand who you are and really, really deeply understand who you are. Right now, for instance, I'm with a person who, among other things, is a master of the dance. And one of her most important styles of dance is Kathak, which is an Indian form that works with the music that I play.
Yeah.
And she's a master of Kathak dance. She's like, she's probably one of the 10 best in the world.
Wow.
She's way advanced. And because we share that, just today, for instance, we did a Zoom class with a bunch of her students.
Nice.
And I played for her. And not only did I play for her, but I also videoed her. So I was playing music for the class, and I was knowing what to video.
Yeah.
I knew what to look at exactly, and I knew exactly how to do it. And I can appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
And she can appreciate me in turn.
Exactly.
Because we share that music together. That's a huge thing.
Exactly.
It's incredible to be with partners with an artist that shares your artistic vision and understands you, because then you can say, okay, I'm going to practice. And they say, go practice.
Right.
She never says, oh, we've got to do something first.
Yeah.
She understands the depth, the communion that happens in practice, which is truly I know it's a very overused word, but it's truly a sacred thing for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's absolutely communion with the infinite. And when somebody understands that, they don't put anything in its way. They can be, like doing something and you say, now I have to practice. Say, go practice.
Right.
Practice in their blessing. There's no, oh, you could have done this or that or anything negative whatsoever. It's like your practice of your deepest thing is their joy.
Right, right, right. And
And
there's a lot of support. And exactly what you're talking about is there's a level of, there's a lot of flow and harmony because there's a deep understanding there around something that you're so passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, when they want something to do with the art, because she's been giving, classes every day.
Yeah.
And I'm there supporting her with the music.
Yeah.
And it's very specific music. I've set up because, we can't get a tabla player to come in because of the whole COVID thing.
Right.
So I have to set up, automatic tabla player on my iPad and do that whole thing. And it's wonderful because I've got a whole orchestra behind me that I've designed. I've designed specific pieces in that orchestra to support her in what she's doing. And that's like her wings.
Yeah, right. Well, well, that's, it's nice sometimes just to bring in the feminine masculine dynamics, and it's like, you're creating a container for her to fly in. Exactly. Which allows her to feel supported in something that, dance is one of the most feminine things you can do, any person. And so just being able to express that feminine energy and her to feel supported by your, holding that space is so powerful. And it's wonderful. The cool thing is it's bringing joy to the two of you and then also to all these other people. So what an amazing collaboration.
Yes, it's an amazing collaboration. And so that, for us, that's very, very close. I've found this treasure, and it's just lovely. Yeah. So I have no problem stroking her positively. Besides, she's very intelligent and has other things that I adore.
Yes.
Such as, for instance, she's an excellent woodworker and carpenter.
Wow.
And she's really good at setting things up, And I love that because I'm like that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really like that particular part of her, and I definitely work with her on that.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's great. I love that you're just giving examples. You're verbally affirming her talking to me, right? So that's how much it just flows out of you. And so she's probably very aware of how much you appreciate all those parts of her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's well aware of it. I make her aware daily. And I make sure to give her that kind of verbal appreciation often.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm too talkative, but I think she likes it. I know she likes it.
I think she does. I think she likes it a lot. Yeah. What I noticed, I like to say this metaphor, which is, I think someone said this to me once, which is women are like flowers. And so with that verbal affirmation, it kind of like opens and blossoms. It's like water on the flower. And so for anyone who's listening, for anyone who's partnered with a woman, you can try this out, right? Tonight, go to your woman and see her and notice what you appreciate about her, and look into her eyes and tell her what that is, and notice what happens to her whole body. Notice how she relaxes. Notice her face, what happens to her face. Notice her smile. Notice the energy that she exudes after you say it. And that will also be positive reinforcement for you, because if there's a really positive response, that'll allow you to keep going and going with it. So I would say just try it for the people listening that haven't been doing a lot of this in their relationships or even their dates. Try it out, see what happens, do an experiment, with no attachment to what the outcome is, and see what happens. And would love to, feel free to, let me know. Would love to hear about this from the listeners. So
you actually, you might think of interviewing her too.
Yes. Well, I was going to say it would be fun for her. Can she jump on right now, or? Is she close by? Or
She's taking a nap.
okay. Yeah, another day then. But I agree. I think it would be fantastic. She's an amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to hear her.
Yeah, her side.
Her interview.
That could be part 2.
I think she'd be happy to hear mine too.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Montino. I love exploring this topic of how to give verbal affirmation, why it's so important, and also these beautiful pieces of your high functioning, healthy, secure relationship and what makes it so good and what makes it work, because that's so healing for people to hear.
Oh, and make sure that when you do these things, you tell the truth. Don't make up stuff.
Yes.
Tell the truth. Focus on what is there.
Exactly.
It's so easy.
Yes.
It's so easy to pick on the wonderful things. You know what they are, so you can go right there.
Yeah, I loved what you said about exactly whatever is real and totally, just showing up. That's what you want to. And again, it's the same thing with kids where, you don't want to say something that isn't true. That's going to be confusing to the psyche. You say the truth and of what you're seeing in them, and that allows them to blossom and grow even more as well. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. Such a pleasure to chat with you as always. I always love talking to you, and thank you so much. And we will talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to Rewire Your Attachment Style. This is Maya Diamond. To receive your 2 free gifts to help you on your journey to lasting love and to start rewiring your attachment style today, go to empowerlove.us/love.